Hi, Gary here. You know, money is one of those things that we probably all know is a big predictor of divorce, how well that's handled. But there was a survey put out by Dr. Sonia Britt from Kansas State University about a year ago, and believe it or not, that was the top predictor, how these couples deal with money and the discussions around money that predict whether or not there's going to be a divorce, the number one reason. And some of this comes down to really about needs versus wants. So what I mean by that? Well, what are our needs? Well, our needs are basically shelter, food, clothing, and health care. You know, beyond that, pretty much they're all wants. So this really comes down to a discussion about wants. Now, for young people, first looking at getting married as an example, there's an Experian Consumer Services survey that came out that said 95% of them say financial responsibility is the most important, and that's above physical attractiveness and even career ambition. And so it's a very important element. In fact, most of them say they're looking at their credit scores to really understand their new spouse. So money is a big thing. So what are the guidelines around this? Well, the guidelines are, a couple gets together and they talk about here's the needs, and start talking about what levels of wants. Especially when a young couple is starting off in the world, they really want to establish that spending and what's will be spent on beyond the needs and what will not. When we get into this next part of life where folks are transitioning and they're in their 40s and 50s and they're getting the bigger house and they're being able to do many more things, again, still it's that same discussion level that goes on, a lot of communication that takes place about these wants, which then can become more expanded relative to that, to what's going on out there. And it's very important to continue that conversation about what that's going to be. And eventually, at the time when we decide to retire, there's some downsizing taking place, but maybe there might be a second home that's going to be in the picture, moving between here and some of the sand states to stay warm in the winter. What's going on there? Folks really don't want to change how they spend their money, and so there's discussions about those wants. And we've observed many folks over the years look at these various areas in their lives as they started off and grew and then retired, and constantly making sure that they really talk very clearly about what defines those wants. And by the way, this is across the board for men and women. It's really one of those things that we're equally concerned about and want to make sure it's handled very carefully as we move forward. So it's this continuing balancing act between couples on these areas. And actually, a lot of this stuff is also passed on to the children and grandchildren, these various goals and objectives and thoughts about how money should be spent beyond our basic needs. It's something I believe will never go away, and it's always an issue to some degree for us at all times. Now, if you like what you see in this blog, just as a reminder, at the bottom of the blog, you can go ahead and forward this to a friend. We'd love to have more people be able to share in this hopefully very good and relevant information that you receive every week. So please do that if you have someone you think will be interested in this. So until next time, enjoy.